Hello everyone. If you're an AI expert or working in tech and thinking about moving to the UK, this video is for you. This is Merve Ayrıca Kızrak and I will walk you through to the UK global talent journey that I experienced and the exceptional talent and digital technology road. And in this video, I will cover costs, document limits, and real-time process and realistic timelines. And what I learned at the end. I like to share my experience to give you a guidance. First thing first, I applied as an AI expert under the digital technology road as an exceptional talent. So I have to say that this is a disclaimer. This isn't a legal advice and not an immigration lawyer, so I'm sharing my practical experience-based walkthrough plus the official logic you need to follow and so you don't waste your time. This video is for AI expert or tech professional who want to UK option and don't waste a consultant style pitch maybe. And what you learn in this video, first, how to approach this like a portfolio evaluation, not just a upload achievement and hope. Second, how to avoid mistakes around the submission mechanism, especially after some updates in the endorsement body and the UK government, and how to frame your work, your effort as research, governance, product, industry impact in a way evaluators can quickly understand you're an exceptional talent. So let me explain first what kind of visa is this. So the Global Talent Visa is designed for people with recognized talent or promise in the three broad areas: academia and research, art and culture, and digital technology. For AI expert, the key value is very flexible. It is not built around one employer sponsor in the same way as some other roles. So you can build your own profile, impact and future contribution in this case. You don't need any sponsorship from UK, any company. But there are eligible boundaries people overlook. In digital technology, you can be technical in non-technical organization or non-technical in a technical organization, but generally not non-technical in a non-technical organization. So what kind of roles can fit in this process? Things like pure service delivery, outsourcing consultancy roles, EPR consultancies, and system admin roles, or large corporate management roles without clear and standout impact. It doesn't fit for this global talent visa. At a high level, this visa lets you work and establish your business, study, or living in UK. And there are long-term pathways like ILR, the infinitive leave to remain in UK, but always verify current rules on the official guidance because the UK always updates the things. There are long-term strong pathways for living in UK with this visa. So let me explain really quickly with the differences between exceptional talent and exceptional promise. Exceptional promise usually fits early career profiles, often framed around about 5 years of experience or less. Exceptional talent usually implies a strong track record, often more than 5 years with clear outcomes, recognition and impact. So I applied exceptional talent because I have more than 15 years experience in AI in a different ways, which means evidence strategy needs to show sustained strength, not just the potential for this case. So let's move on the step-by-step process. Global talent process has 2 stages. First is stage 1 is endorsement, and this processing cost is £561 now, but you have to check the Go UK website always because it's sometimes updating. If you pass the stage 1, you move to stage 2, which is the visa stage, and you will pay for biometrics £205 and IHS health surcharge, it's £1,035. So you are looking at a roughly £1,800 per year in a cost scale. And practically if you renew annually, you need to keep paying for IHS each year as long as your conditions don't change. So what is the document checklist? What you need to provide for applying this visa stage 1 for the endorsement? First of all, personal statement. This is kind of an intent letter but special one, and maximum word limit is 1,000. So I recommend that write this one at the end after you finish all of the other documents. Second one, you need 3 recommendation letters, each of them maximum 3 pages. And third, CV. In my approach, I summarize my resume in a 3 pages because also it has the 3-page limit. And the last thing is evidence pieces, which are the important ones. You need to support maximum 10 pieces of evidence. I personally think aiming for around at least 8 is often a strong target. I provide 9 of them, which I will explain later on. You have to remember that each piece of evidence has a strict limit of 3 pages. Actually, this changes everything because the evidence isn't just about what you did, it's about how clearly you can show your proof in a tight format. Actually, this was my first pain point in the reel. So these documents are basically freestyle. There isn't one standard template that they provide you to follow. I mean, the formatting is not decoration. It should be the functional and easy to understand. So I use a consistent layout. I create a template in Canva. It is not a ads. I used to do it. So that's why I prefer to use Canva in this case. So every evidence piece had one same logic and same headings and same readability. As I mentioned, 3 different areas that you can apply. I applied in digital technology field. You have to check what is the endorsement body for digital technology. In this case, digital technology endorsement body is TechNation, and you need to follow the mandatory and optional criteria in the TechNation guidance. In digital technology, you need to satisfy the mandatory criteria. You provide 4 of them, and then you need to evidence across at least 2 optional areas. Things like innovation, recognition beyond your occupation, and significant contribution or academic contribution through the research. My approach was simple but really disciplined. One, first of all, I listed all possible evidence that I could use. I listed I spent my week or 2 weeks to think about last 5 years because you need to provide last 5 years consistently. So I listed them down. Then secondly, I cut down aggressively. Why? Because I need to remove the weak items and repetitive items, and I also cut anything that hard to prove. So I cut them down. I keep following with the strongest one and non-repetitive one and also easy to prove ones. And then I grouped what remain into the mandatory ones and the optional ones. So that's why you need to check which criteria are mandatory and which criteria are optional in the TechNation webpage, TechNation guidance. I give all the links in the description box. You can find the guidance and the website that you need to follow in this case. Then I check the timeline. The evidence should cover last 5 years, as I mentioned, and show consistency, not just a short burst. You shouldn't mention just last year or couple of months or period of times. So you need to cover last 5 years consistency. One important nuance here, some of contributions aren't fully public or easy to linkable. In those cases, I supporting some proof of evidence letter in my criteria documentary, but I treated them as reinforcement, never as a replacement for a real evidence. I support the real evidence. If I think that it's hard to linkable, for example, I work for presidency last 6 years, so that's why some of the report that I contribute, some of the effort that I contribute in the beyond my occupation, it was hard to linkable. Because of this case, I got a proof of evidence from my manager. Certain eligible prices can let you bypass this endorsement process, go straight to the stage 2. So you must check the official eligible prices list carefully. So what's a strong AI profile looks like? In other words, what does strong evidence look like for an AI expert? In my point of view, the evaluator should understand your impact quickly and every claim should be backed links, screenshots, statistics, or official documents. So here is some of the example how I structure mine application. For the mandatory criteria, my first evidence piece, proof of product-led AI company, my company based in UK, Hux AI. I provide all of the official registration in the government and public presence and all of the website and social media accounts of my company that is actively work in this AI area. And also it's a product led, which is important for the evidence because you shouldn't provide any consultancy activity in this case. My second mandatory evidence was proof of professional contribution, like project platform supported with links and screenshots, and short explanation about each evidence that I support. Don't forget, all of the piece of evidence should be 3 pages maximum. My third piece of evidence for mandatory was proof of public impact beyond my job. Media, mentoring, community works was the proved in this case. But for example, my mentoring side, I did mentoring to the foundation, one of the foundation, technology foundation, but there is no record and there is no linkable, proofable evidence on the online platforms. So I got from the general secretary of the foundation as a proof of evidence that I did this mentoring these years and I spent this much time for the mentoring and that many people provided getting benefit from my mentoring. I gave all the statistic and I supported with a proof of evidence letter. And again, these all things should be maximum 3 pages. Fourth evidence of the mandatory criteria was education impact at scale. I have online courses in various platforms. I mention all of them, including like platforms names, number of learners, global distribution, plus public materials like GitHubs and other blog posts, including these materials with the educational impact. So I gave all of the proof about that. Then my last mandatory criteria proof was compensation benchmarking, showing my earnings above average for the comparable experts, supported with the official sources and payrolls documentation. It is not a one strong evidence, but it can be the supported evidence because you can show your earnings not like average expert. You are higher than average expert. So if you are like that, you can show your payroll documentation as an evidence. Let's keep going with the optional criteria. You again need to check all of the optional criteria, what they want in the evaluation phase. You need to check them and you need to group your based on that. My first optional criteria evidence was about my leadership as a founder and CEO at Hux AI. I supported all of the credible witnesses about our capacity building efforts, our internship, and our all webinars kind of stuff, like beyond our commercial product led efforts, what we did for the public impact, public good. So also I provided proof of evidence. Second one, I mentioned my public speaking leadership, including major talks and measurable audience scale. I pick really strongest one like TEDx because it was in the Zorlu Center, which is the very big stage in Turkey, more than 2,000 people and face-to-face speaking that I did. I also mentioned some other international stages that I do my speaking. The important things, I always summarize the piece, evidence piece. I gave all the dates and numbers, statistics about the talks and the events. So all of them was proofable and easy to understand. And they can click and they can go through the web page and I provide all of the screenshots of the process. As a third of my optional criteria evidence was international expert contribution supported with public proof. What I provide with this evidence, for example, last year I contribute to one of the economist impact research report which published in Davos, and couple of years ago, I contribute some of the foundation's research report and think tank reports kind of stuff I supported here. And also I supported some of the open source contribution in this case. My last piece was about academic track record. I mentioned my academic background in my CV and personal statement, so that's why I need to support at least one of the evidence in optional criteria. There's an academic track record, so that's why I want to support my academic citations with the screenshots again. I mentioned like last 5 years I had more than 500 citation, and my indexes of the publication, like 2 different indexes, journal and my book chapters. And I mentioned all of my conference paper was published in IEEE conferences or Springers, which are the prestigious one. And I mentioned my H index as 11 and my I-10 index as 13, which are the important for the academic track record. And also I've doing some peer reviews and scientific boards, but some of them links doesn't work clearly, and I want to add extra proof of evidence in this case. So that's why I got a proof of evidence letter from my senior academic in this case to support more clearly and strongly in this case. This piece of evidence, I provide 5 of mandatory criteria and 4 of optional criteria, and totally 9 piece of evidence for the endorsement body. And here is the key takeaway for AI expert. Being a good at AI doesn't automatically read as you are an exceptional talent on paper. So you have to package your work so it's verifiable and easy to evaluate, which is really important in this stage. So we are done with our evidence pieces. We have mandatory and optional evidence. So keep going with the CV. Here is the order that I recommend. Start your referee early because you need 3 letters, each with the page limits, like 3 pages, and you want to people who speak clearly and credibly to your impact to the domain. The important thing is, I believe, pick referees who cover different dimensions of your effort. For example, I have background in research and academia and public sector, then industry, and I have community contributions like social impact and public impact of my work, mentoring and education side. So I have different hats and I provide some evidence each of them. So I decided to find 3 important referee that they cover different dimensions of my work experience. One of the referee was the industry based, who knows me 10 years, and he is C-level. He has his own company, a global company, and he provide me my industry impact perspective. And my other referee was my manager in university. He was my dean and now he is rector, so he's high level profile and very well known. He also follows my public sector effort, so he mostly mentioned my talent in academia and research base, and also how I moved to the public sector because he is one of the person who follow my career very closely. My last recommendation letter mostly focusing on my community contribution, and again written by who knows me last 10 years, so who follows me like my contribution last 10 years, so which is important also, and also who is living in the UK. So all these 3 recommendation letters covers my and shows the full picture of my efforts very strongly, which is important. Then I created my CV and I mostly summarized my resume because I couldn't contain all of my publication. It also takes more than 1 pages and I have limit 3 pages. So that's why I selected strongest project in my workflow and I pick the strongest publication, strongest mentorship, strongest membership of that I need to mention. So I always mention, for example, in the publication part, I give a parenthesis inside like selected ones, so they can understand that I selected strongest one and I did more than that. And this is the important that you need to create coherent and consistent with your evidence in your CV. This shouldn't be like contradict. So all of them should be consistent. And the last thing is your personal statement because it's connect everything within 1,000 words, which is really hard indeed. Your personal statement is kind of an intent letter, but you must answer some question that technician guidance provided you. Why the UK? What work you will do there? And where you plan to live and how the UK digital technology sector benefit from your work, which is important. You have to mention and answer this question in your personal statement. And please prepare your personal statement in a doc. Make sure that it is 1,000 word because when you apply for the first stage, you need to type them down again in the platform, in the home office platform. This is the whole stage one process. But I need to mention that you have to follow the TechNation and UK government guidance because I struggle when I apply that visa. I couldn't find out the last updates explanation as YouTube video. So this is where many applicants get stuck. I watch many YouTube video and I follow many blog posts beside the official guidance to make sure that if I understand correctly to the guidance. So that's why also I recording this video to get benefit from my journey. So the last update was the August last year and the major changes is normally before that date people upload their evidences, their CV and recommendation letter and personal statement to the TechNation's platform. But after this date, the Home Office changed the rules and you apply on official system in the Home Office in the Gov UK and near the end your stage 1 application you receive an email address. You submit your documents as a one package of that email, like 15 documents total because you have maximum 10 evidence piece and 3 recommendation letters and 1 CV and 1 personal statement. All of them maximum 15 documents total in the email. Then the UK Home Office and your endorsing body, in this case TechNation, endorsing road evaluate internally. If you take only one thing from this video, please follow the updates in the TechNation guidance. You can find the last update and then follow the which updates happen on this date. So follow the recent flow you see during the application. Now, timelines. I applied in December actually, and I received an update end of December confirming my documents were received, then including holiday downtime. Then I got the endorsement email in 15 days. Then you can start stage 2, which is the visa stage and the really fast stage. And one practical detail here, the outcome is largely handled as e-visa, not a visitor kind of sticker in your passport. They don't take your passport when you are giving your biometrics. You keep your passport with you, and when you get email from the Home Office that you got the visa, and then you use a UK visa and immigration application with your phone and laptop. You give your information and you activate your e-visa. Then you can use your e-visa as a global talent. So let's keep going with lessons learned. This part is really important, I think, because this is where strong profiles quietly weaken themselves sometimes. I can provide some mistakes to avoid because I watch many videos and I research too much and I had experience on the process, so I can clearly say that don't submit evidence that's basically your job description. It is not an evidence that they want. And secondly, don't cluster evidence into short recent bursts. It should be consistent impact over the 5 years. Don't just focusing on last year or period of time. It is really important for them. And thirdly, don't present paid mentoring or community contribution. Be clear about what's voluntary. Voluntary effort is really important in this case. If you do something by paid or sponsors, it doesn't countable in this case. And don't keep your contribution vague. You shouldn't say just, I did this AI thing. It is not countable. Make it specific, niche, and advanced and provable. It's really important. Don't rely heavily on employer sponsored event that look like routine corporate PR rather than independent recognition. If you join an event, if you give a speech that the sponsors is your occupation, it's not countable, so you have to aware of that. So what I spent too much time on was two things. First, freestyle formatting, because I need to provide my evidence. I mean, it's not a kind of a decoration stuff, but it should be professional, clean, and understandable and consistent, readable. So that's why I follow same rule for all of my evidence, same headings, same explanation style and date and links and screenshots. So I make easy to understand for the evaluator in the home office or the technician. Second, evidence selection discipline, because choosing the right set of evidence with no reputation, it was really hard, and I spent like couple of days or 1 week maybe to select it evidence clearly and impactfully. All of them, I can say honestly, over design doesn't matter. Clarity is matter in this case, I think. Clear and understandable, readable, and consistency is important in this case. When you get this visa, what's happened? After approval, the headline is flexibility. You can work, you didn't need any sponsor, any invitation from any company in UK. You can go and work. You can self-employed, you can build your own company and you can have your employees and you can study. You can live in UK with a broad freedom. But remember, you generally can't access some of the public funds, social funds. There's some long-term pathways like ILR you can get and citizenships also exist, but always verify the current rules in the UK official. If you have exception promise, after 5 years, you can apply for ILR. If you have exceptional talent, after 3 years, you can apply ILR. In this case, today, you need to make sure that if it's updates and changes about the rules. If you're a tech expert with a real body work of product, research, education, leadership, and you can document it clearly, global talent is really worth serious consideration. So if you have any question, if I missed any point in the process, I like to answer your question in the comments. If I don't the answer, at least we can chat about that and we can search about it and we can contribute to the community. I have to say that when I decide to apply this visa, I search a lot and I watch many YouTube videos, so all of them was beneficial to me. So that's why I like to share this video. If this video helpful for you, you can like and subscribe and no pressure. Thanks for watching.